Alright, so there you can see the whole mess of Area 51, Hangar 18. So a couple things. This is the Dumas Curtis F9C Sparrowhawk. And F9C Sparrowhawk. And here we're, I've just got the fuselage laid up and all the stringers applied, and as you can see I put a cockpit floor and these lower sidewalls. That's just cardstock. The floor is birch ply. It's this, I think it's 1/32 thick birch ply. This is this stuff here. And it's useful in a number of ways. It's basically if you need something a little bit sturdier than cardstock, but you want to be able to do the same things essentially. So, and it's sandable. But in this case, I just use it for the cockpit floors because it's sturdy. You can drill into it. I can drill a hole for the control column, for the rudder pedals, and anything I need to do. So that's installed. The landing gear wire is bent. The tail wheel here, you can see, I think, right there. What I did with the tail wheel, now it came with these little this little red plastic tail wheel, and what I did was I added these sides to it, these the wheel centers, and those were provided by former number 1, left and right side, had these cutouts having to do with the way the faux motor and the cowling mounts to the front of the airplane. So anyway, I just popped those out. Anytime the formers or wing ribs, like here's some more. These pieces here have these circles in them. I always keep these little circles because they're perfectly cut, and you can use them for, well, as I did on here, I used them for the wheel centers on the tail wheel. And that just adds a more scale appearance to the tail wheel than what we had with just the plastic. Anyway, I wanted to go over that and just, let you know that you should keep, if you need circles of, various diameters over the course of, a year or two after building a few kits, you end up with quite a number of those kinds of parts. And yeah, all right. So, and then I added a doubler to the nose. I'm not going to use. They have this this kind of key-like orientation. That's what this is. This goes on the back of the faux motor, and then it's used to orient the engine onto the and center it on. But I'll do that myself. I added a doubler, so the reason for that is I noticed that on a lot of these Dumas kits with the Air Express, it was true also. The way the kits are laid out, they don't give you a true firewall. In other words, the fuselage at the nose doesn't terminate with the firewall. Here you can see it's gone a bit further than that, and then just the fake cylinders that are molded into the cowling are the standoff. But you can see there that an actual motor, if this being the case, then the actual firewall should be right about here. And I don't want to cut, in other words, if I skin this whole thing or infill it all and then draw a line where I think the firewall should be and then take a razor saw to it, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make all that extra effort here. So what I'll do is, if I add the Williams Brothers motor, it'll just extend the fuselage that much, and then the cowling will sit off here instead of here. It'll still cover the nose of the airplane. This, in fact, would become the firewall, even though that's not quite to scale. If all that makes sense. So I'm still kind of formulating all that. Now the other thing I did on bending the wire, the landing gear support were actually bent into the main struts, these struts, and so they kicked out here where the landing gear or the wheels would mount and everything else. But that wouldn't work for me. I wouldn't be able to slide the airfoil struts over the wires if I had those on there, so I had to snap them off. And instead I bent them into the secondary wire. So this wire here is now going to be the wheel support. And I left just enough of a down angle here. We changed the way this was bent compared to the plan. I could flip all this over and show you the plan. But that might be a little involved, so just take my word for it. So what it was initially the wire, the main strut wire had the outward leg on it to attach the wheels, but again, that wouldn't fit inside of the airfoil that I'm going to slide up over these legs. There would be no way to have to unbend it and rebend it, and then by that time you've got a problem. So I just snapped them off, and now this will fit right up inside, right there on each side, and I'll just solder it there, attach it and solder it there. Right, so there's that. Again, this part's been cut from the sheet, and I pulled all the blue plastic off of it. When Dumas sends you their plastic parts, where did that go? Oh, here it is. So here's the landing gear still. I still haven't trimmed the landing gear off yet. Let me see, it has this blue film on both sides, and that's just to protect the plastic. It's actually really good. I wish Gilla would do it too. But this has been trimmed and sanded and finished, and I'm still pondering whether or not I'm going to cut out the motor here and put a Williams Brothers motor inside, and then remove the dome separately and then attach that. So that may still happen. This is the fairing that goes underneath the aircraft. This will go on after the lower wing is installed, and it fits over the lower wing right about there. That part just goes right there. So those have been cut and cleared from the sheet, and I still have to do the fairings. And again, the wheel fairings, I'm altering the wheel fairings. So in the kit, it's just flat on the face like that, with a piece of balsa, just a flat sheet of balsa here. And instead I'm going to shape. I'm going to add a 1/4 inch thick balsa sheet and then shape it properly like this. And with that, the landing gear wheels, the main wheels need to be made thicker. So this is with one piece of the 3/32 or 1/8 inch. You could use either one, 1/8 inch balsa sheet. And what I'm going to do is double that. So the wheels are actually going to end up being quite a bit thicker. And that's just so they fit the wheel wells on these wheel pants properly. So you can see the wheels will be about that thick. Let me see if you can see. Right. So we'll just cut and trim another piece of balsa to the other half of this wheel. So both halves will have this. And then to get the alignment right, we'll just drill through each side, right through the center, right there, and shove a pin through a piece of the landing gear wire. Shove that through so that we get the alignment right, and then glue them together. And that'll give us a nice thick wheel. And the reason for that again is, since this is going to be the actual shape of our fairing, that wheel needs to be quite a bit thicker to be able to rest out here where it needs to be. Anyway, it'll make sense when I'm putting it together. So a couple of things that came to light while I was in the process of building a fuselage. So anyway, that's our current status. These are all of the stringers are attached now. You see we have the cradle for the upper wing, which is a gull wing. So the wing center section will drop right in here. It's just like, it's the same as the Hall's Bulldog as far as how this part of the fuselage, and I guess the Laird Super solution had kind of the same setup on the on top of the fuselage. And here's our cockpit. So you can see the scale of this thing's pretty big. It's close to 1/12 scale, 1-inch scale. It's a very small airplane. In actual size, it's not much bigger than a Piper Cub, the little Sparrowhawk. And you can see by the size of the cockpit and so on that it's a pretty large scale airplane. I was thinking I might need a Gillows Stearman pilot, but I think even that's too small. That's only I think that's 1/18 scale, and this is definitely bigger than that. I think that pilot would be okay scale wise in here, be about that big. But I'm gonna look at the wingspan again and do the math and see what this is. It's I think it's larger than 1/18. I think it might be 1/12. It's a big kit. It's bigger than I thought it was. Yeah, but it'll be good. It'll be a nice size. Lots of detail. I'm gonna try and fill out the cockpit pretty good. So anyway, that's our current progress on the Sparrowhawk. This is I guess day 2 of the work. We laid it up and strung it up last night. I put in the cockpit floor and widened the tires, widened the wheels this morning. So bent the landing gear. Got that all installed. All right, so that's where we're at. Anyway, no, that's it. All right, so as you were, thanks for watching. Back soon.